Some stories begin with a single choice that changes everything. For Maya Chin, that choice came on a freezing February morning in San Diego when she decided that saving a stranger's life was worth losing everything she had. They say kindness is its own reward, but Maya was about to discover it could also unlock a destiny she never imagined, and a love that would shake the foundations of her carefully ordered world. But before the fairy tale, there would be betrayal. Before the crown, there would be blood. And before she could claim her future, Maya would have to survive those who wanted to destroy it. This is the story of how an underpaid hotel attendant became a queen, and how the Alpha King himself learned that true power lies not in dominance, but in the courage to be vulnerable. It begins with snow, rare, unexpected snow falling on the beaches of San Diego. Chapter 1. Maya's phone buzzed for the third time as she hurried down the service corridor of the Coronado Grand Hotel, her arms laden with fresh towels. 6:47 a.m. Marcus, head of housekeeping, where are you? VIP suite needs servicing now. She was already late. The bus had broken down 3 miles from the hotel, and she'd run the entire way in the pre-dawn darkness, her lungs burning, her second-hand shoes rubbing blisters into her heels. But she'd made it. Barely. Maya pushed through the service entrance into the gray morning light, planning to cut through the beach path to the North Tower. It would save her 5 minutes, and right now, 5 minutes meant everything. The beach was deserted, the sand dusted with that impossible snow. The meteorologists had been talking about it all week, some freak weather pattern bringing Arctic air down the California coast. Maya had never seen snow on a beach before. Under different circumstances, she might have found it beautiful. But then she heard it. A sound that didn't belong, low, pained, wrong. Maya stopped, her breath misting in the frigid air. There it was again. A whimper, almost lost beneath the crash of waves. She should keep walking. She was already late. Marcus had been looking for any excuse to fire her ever since she'd turned down his after-hours inventory check 3 months ago. But her feet carried her toward the sound anyway, down the dunes toward the rocky outcropping that separated the public beach from the hotel's private stretch of sand. That's where she found him. A massive wolf, no. Too large to be a wolf, something else, lay crumpled against the rocks. Silver gray, fur matted with blood. One leg bent at an unnatural angle. Even semi-conscious, the animal was enormous, easily the size of a Great Dane. Maya's first thought was impossibly clear. Shifter. She'd grown up hearing the stories. Her grandmother had told her about the old families, the ones with animal souls. Most people thought they were myths, fairy tales to explain away the disappearances and strange sightings in the mountains and forests. But Maya's grandmother had been insistent. They're real, Bao Bao. And they've been fighting a war for us. For all of us. The war. 6 years of conflict that the government barely acknowledged. Territories fought over in the wilderness, battles that never made the news, soldiers who didn't officially exist. The wolf's eyes cracked open, pale silver, glazed with pain and something darker. A poison, maybe. His breathing came shallow and labored. There was a wound on his shoulder, and the flesh around it had turned black, spreading like ink in water. "Oh God," Maya whispered, dropping to her knees beside him. "Can you hear me?" The wolf tried to lift his head and failed. Blood soaked the sand beneath him. How long had he been lying here? Hours? All night? Maya looked back toward the hotel, gleaming white against the gray sky. She could see the North Tower from here, could see the VIP suite where Marcus was probably already composing the write-up that would end her employment. She'd worked at the Coronado Grand for 3 years. It was a terrible job with terrible pay and a manager who made her skin crawl, but it was steady. It kept a roof over her head and food in her stomach. It was all she had. And this wolf, this shifter, this soldier who'd spent 6 years fighting battles she'd never see, was going to die right here in the sand if she walked away. Maya made her decision. "I'm going to help you," she said firmly, even though she had no idea if he could understand her. "This is probably going to hurt. I'm sorry." She dropped the towels and worked her arms beneath him. Gods, he was heavy. At least 200 pounds of dead weight, all muscle and fur and blood. Maya braced her legs and lifted. Her knees nearly buckled. Her shoulders screamed. Every muscle in her body protested as she got him across her back, his warmth soaking through her uniform, his blood sticky against her skin. The hotel loomed in the distance, impossibly far. One step, then another. Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it. The sand shifted beneath her feet, threatening to send them both sprawling. The wolf whimpered, and the sound broke something in her chest. "I know," she gasped. "I know it hurts. Just hold on. Please just hold on." Maya burst through the service entrance 15 minutes later, her legs shaking, her vision blurring. She'd carried him up from the beach, across the parking lot, leaving a trail of blood and snow behind them. "Help," she shouted. "Somebody help me." A cook looked up from the prep station, his eyes going wide. "What the? Where's the hotel doctor?" Maya demanded. "Or anyone I need." "Maya Chen." Marcus's voice cut through the kitchen like a whip. The head of housekeeping stood in the doorway to the office corridor, his face mottled with rage. He was a stocky man in his 50s, with a comb-over that fooled no one and a vindictive streak that made everyone walk on eggshells. "Do you have any idea what time it is?" he snarled, stalking toward her. "The VIP suite has been waiting for." He stopped as he registered the wolf across her shoulders, the blood, the obvious emergency. For a moment, something like concern flickered across his face. Then his eyes went cold. "Get that thing out of my hotel," he said flatly. Maya stared at him. "What?" "You heard me. Whatever that is, it's not our problem. Get it out, clean up this mess, and report to my office immediately." "He's a shifter," Maya said, her voice shaking with exhaustion and disbelief. "He's one of the soldiers. He's been poisoned. He'll die if we don't." "Not our problem." Marcus enunciated each word like he was speaking to a child. "This is a 5-star establishment, not a veterinary clinic. Now get it out before any guests see this disaster." The cook had backed away, not meeting Maya's eyes. 2 other staff members had appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. They looked away too. No one would help. No one would even speak up. Maya had known the hotel staff were cowards when it came to Marcus. She'd learned that lesson the hard way. But this was different. This was a life. "There's a clinic 3 blocks from here," she said desperately. "If someone could just help me carry him." "No one is helping you do anything except leave," Marcus interrupted. "You're fired, Chen. Effective immediately. Abandoning your post, destroying company property with all this blood, bringing a dangerous animal into a food service area. That's more than enough grounds for termination. But you have 5 minutes to get that thing out of here before I call animal control," he said. "And consider yourself lucky I don't call the police and have you arrested for trespassing and property damage." He turned on his heel and walked away, not looking back. The other staff melted into the shadows, avoiding her gaze. Maya stood there, the wolf's weight crushing her shoulders, and felt something harden in her chest. Fine. She didn't need them. She'd find a way herself. Maya stumbled out into the morning cold, her arms and back screaming. The wolf was barely breathing now, his heartbeat fluttering against her shoulder blade. 3 blocks to the clinic. She could make it. She had to make it. Her vision swam. Her legs threatened to give out with every step. "Please," she whispered to the wolf, to herself, to anyone who might be listening. "Please don't die. Not after all this. Not when we're so close." She made it 1 block, then another. On the 3rd block, her knee buckled. Maya went down hard, her hands shooting out to break her fall, trying desperately not to crush the wolf beneath her. They hit the sidewalk together, and Maya tasted blood where she'd bitten her tongue. "No," she sobbed, trying to push herself up. Her arms wouldn't cooperate. "No, please, I can't." "Miss? Are you all right?" An elderly woman appeared above her, her face creased with concern. She wore a heavy coat and carried a shopping bag from the nearby market. "Please," Maya gasped. "Please help me. He's dying. The clinic, it's just—" "I'll get help," The woman said immediately. Don't move. I'll be right back. She was gone, moving with surprising speed for someone her age. Maya lay on the cold concrete, one hand on the wolf's chest, feeling the weak rise and fall of his breathing. Hold on, she whispered. Just a little longer. Please. The wolf's silver eyes cracked open, finding hers. There was something in that gaze, recognition, maybe, gratitude. Then his eyes closed again. The elderly woman returned with 2 young men from the clinic, and together they got the wolf onto a stretcher. They moved quickly, professionally, asking questions Maya could barely answer through her exhaustion. Do you know what poisoned him?
No.
The wound on his shoulder, it's black. Spreading. How long has he been like this? I don't know.
Hours, maybe.
I found him on the beach. They disappeared into the clinic, and Maya tried to follow, but her legs finally gave out completely. She woke in a chair in the waiting room, a blanket draped over her shoulders. The elderly woman sat beside her, pressing a cup of hot tea into her hands. Drink, she said gently. You've had quite a morning. Maya obeyed, the warmth spreading through her chest. The wolf. The doctor is with him now.
Dr.
Park is the best veterinarian in San Diego, and she has experience with shifters. If anyone can save him, she can. Maya felt tears prickling at her eyes. Thank you for helping. No one else would. The woman's expression hardened. I know the type who wouldn't. Too concerned with their own comfort to see someone in need. She patted Maya's hand. You did a good thing today, child. Don't let anyone tell you different. I lost my job, Maya said, the reality of it hitting her for the first time. I don't even know how I'm going to pay for his treatment. We'll figure something out, the woman said. I'm Helen, by the way. Helen Park. That's my daughter in there with your wolf. Dr. Sarah Park emerged 3 hours later, her scrub stained with blood, exhaustion etched into her face. Maya shot to her feet. Is he alive? Dr. Park said. Barely. The poison is nightshade extract, heavily concentrated. Designed specifically to prevent shifter healing. Whoever created it knew exactly what they were doing. Her expression was grim. This isn't some random attack. This is military-grade poison. But he'll survive? Maya pressed. I think so. I've administered the antidote and started him on fluids. The next 24 hours will be critical, but if he makes it through the night, his chances are good.
She paused.
He's shifted to human form. That's actually a positive sign. Means his body is fighting the poison off enough to drop the defensive posture. Maya's heart stuttered. Human form? Did you want to see him? Dr. Park asked. You saved his life. I think you've earned the right. Maya nodded, unable to speak. Dr. Park led her through the clinic to a recovery room in the back. We don't usually allow visitors in here, but like I said, special circumstances. Just don't disturb him. He needs rest. She opened the door. The man on the exam table was... Maya's breath caught. He was tall, she could tell even lying down. Broad-shouldered and powerfully built, his skin bronze, his body covered in scars that mapped a history of violence. There were so many scars. Across his chest, his arms, his abdomen. Each one a story of pain survived. His face was all sharp angles, strong jaw, high cheekbones, the blade of a nose. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and even unconscious, even battered and poisoned, there was something commanding about him. Something that made her want to kneel and run away in equal measure. A white sheet covered him from the waist down, but his upper body was exposed, and Maya found herself unable to look away from the steady rise and fall of his chest, from the bandages wrapped around his shoulder, from the 4-line running into his arm. Beautiful, isn't he? Dr. Park said quietly, in a dangerous sort of way. Maya felt heat flood her cheeks. I mean, Dr. Park smiled. It's all right. You can admit it. You literally carried him through a snowstorm. I think you're allowed to appreciate the view. I just wanted to make sure he was okay, Maya mumbled. He will be. Thanks to you. Dr. Park's expression grew serious. This kind of poison, this kind of injury, he's not just any shifter. I've seen wounds like this before years ago when some of the soldiers came through here on medical leave. This man is military. High-ranking, probably. How can you tell? The scars. The way they're distributed. He's been fighting for a long time, and he's been good at it, survived injuries that would have killed most people.
She paused.
I think you might have saved someone very important, Maya. Maya looked at the unconscious man, at the strong lines of his face peaceful in sleep. I just hope he thinks it was worth it, she said softly. What I gave up to save him.
Chapter 2.
Maya left the clinic as the sun was setting, her body aching, her mind numb. She'd stayed all day, helping Dr. Park where she could, mostly just sitting beside the unconscious shifter, unwilling to leave until she knew for certain he would survive. Now the reality of her situation was settling in like a cold weight in her stomach. She was fired. Homeless by the end of the week. Her rent was already 2 weeks overdue, and she'd been counting on this week's paycheck to catch up. Her landlord had been clear. One more missed payment, and she was out. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts, looking for anyone who might let her crash on their couch. The list was depressingly short. There was Jen from her old community college days, but Jen had moved to Philadelphia last year for a job in pharmaceutical research. David from the hotel, but he'd made it clear he was Team Marcus after the inventory incident. Her cousin Tony in Los Angeles, but they hadn't spoken in 3 years. Not since the argument about her grandmother's funeral arrangements. Maya stood on the sidewalk as the San Diego evening turned cold around her and realized she had nowhere to go.
Her phone rang.
Unknown number. Hello. Ms. Chen? This is Robert Tate from the Coronado Grand's HR department. I'm calling regarding your termination earlier today. Maya's stomach sank. Yes. I've reviewed the security footage and Mr. Garcia's report. While we understand you were attempting to render aid to an injured animal, abandoning your post and bringing said animal into a food service area represents a serious violation of health and safety protocols. Additionally, the blood trail caused property damage that will require professional cleaning. We'll need to deduct that from your final paycheck. Wait, what? Maya's voice came out sharper than she intended. You're taking money from me? I saved someone's life. You brought a wild animal into a hotel kitchen, Tate corrected, his voice flat and bureaucratic. Our liability insurance is quite clear on. Maya hung up. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. She'd done the right thing. She knew she'd done the right thing. But apparently, the right thing meant losing everything. Her phone buzzed with a text from her landlord. Rent is now 3 weeks overdue. You have until Friday, or I'm changing the locks. 3 days. She had 3 days to come up with $2,400, or she'd be sleeping on the street. Maya wanted to scream. Wanted to throw her phone into the ocean. Wanted to go back in time and make herself walk past that wounded wolf, save herself, protect the fragile life she'd built from the wreckage of her parents' death and her grandmother's slow decline. But even as the thought formed, she knew she wouldn't have done anything differently. That man, that shifter, had fought for 6 years to keep people like her safe. The least she could do was carry him 3 blocks.
Even if it cost her everything.
Maya spent that night on a bench in Balboa Park, her jacket pulled tight against the cold. She'd retrieved her things from her apartment, what little she could carry, before her landlord could lock her out early. 1 duffel bag. That's what 3 years in San Diego amounted to. 1 duffel bag of clothes, a few photos, her grandmother's jade bracelet. She dozed fitfully, waking every time footsteps passed too close, every time voices rose in the darkness. By dawn, she'd made a decision. She couldn't stay in San Diego. There was nothing for her here now, no job, no home, no prospects. Marcus would make sure she never worked at another hotel in the city. She'd learned that lesson when she'd turned him down. But she had options. Slim options, but options nonetheless. Jen in Philadelphia. She'd reached out via text last night, and Jen had responded almost immediately. Of course you can crash here. I have a spare room and my company is always hiring. Come whenever you're ready. It wasn't much, but it was something. A couch, a chance. Maybe a fresh start. Maya pulled out her phone and checked bus tickets. There was a Greyhound leaving for Philadelphia in 6 hours. $147. She could afford that. Barely. She'd figure out the rest when she got there. Maya made one stop before leaving San Diego. The veterinary clinic was quiet in the early morning, but Dr. Park was already there, checking on her overnight patients. Maya. She looked surprised. I didn't expect to see you back so soon. Don't you have work? I got fired, Maya said flatly. And evicted. I'm leaving the city today. I wanted to check on him before I go. Make sure he was okay. Dr. Park's expression softened. Oh, honey.
I'm so sorry.
Come on. He's this way. She led Maya back to the recovery room. The shifter, the man, was still unconscious, but his color was better. The blackness around his wound had receded. He's healing, Dr. Park said. Faster than I expected, actually. I think he'll wake up in the next day or two. His system is remarkably resilient. Maya moved to his bedside, looking down at him. In the daylight, she could see more details. The way his dark hair curled slightly at the temples, the scar through his left eyebrow, the surprising fullness of his lips. She reached out before she could stop herself, her fingers brushing the hair back from his forehead. I'm glad you're going to be okay, she whispered. I'm sorry I won't be here when you wake up. I hope your life is better than mine turned out to be. I hope saving you was worth it. His hand moved, just a twitch, his fingers curling slightly as if trying to reach for something. Reaching for her. Maya stepped back, her heart hammering. I have to go, she said to Dr. Park. Will you tell him, when he wakes up? Will you tell him I hope he has a good life? Wait. Dr. Park pulled out a business card and scribbled something on the back. This is my personal cell. If you ever need anything at all, you call me. Understood? You saved someone important today, Maya. That means something. Maya took the card, her throat tight. Thank you. For everything. She walked out of the clinic without looking back because if she looked back, she might not have the strength to leave. And she had to leave. There was nothing left for her here. Chapter 3. The bus ride to Philadelphia took 4 days. 4 days of rest stops and gas station food, of sleeping upright in uncomfortable seats, of watching the landscape change from California desert to mountain ranges, to the flat expanses of the Midwest, and finally to the dense forests and rolling hills of Pennsylvania. Maya spent most of the time staring out the window, trying not to think about the man she'd left behind. Wondering if he'd woken up yet. Wondering if he'd asked about her. Wondering if he'd even remember she existed. Jen met her at the bus station in downtown Philadelphia, pulling her into a fierce hug that made Maya's eyes burn with tears she'd been holding back for days. You made it, Jen exclaimed. Oh my God, you look exhausted. Come on, let's get you home. You can shower and sleep, and then we'll figure everything out. Jen's apartment was small but cozy, a one-bedroom in a converted brownstone in the Fairmount neighborhood. The spare room was really more of a large closet, but it had a twin bed and a window, and after 4 days on a bus, it looked like paradise. Maya collapsed onto the bed and slept for 14 hours straight. When she woke, Jen had coffee and bagels waiting. So, Jen said, settling into the chair across from her with her own mug. Tell me everything. Your texts were pretty cryptic. You saved someone's life. Maya told her the whole story. The wolf on the beach. The poison. Marcus firing her. The long carry to the clinic. The beautiful, broken man who'd haunted her thoughts for 4 days. Holy shit, Jen breathed when Maya finished. You literally saved an alpha shifter's life. I don't know if he was an alpha, Maya protested. Dr. Park just said he was high-ranking.
Maya.
The scars, the poison, the whole thing, that's not some random soldier. That's someone important. Jen leaned forward. And you just walked away? Without even leaving your number or anything. What was I supposed to do? Wait around for him to wake up, so I could what, ask him out? Tell him I'm homeless and jobless and desperate. Maya shook her head. He was fighting a war for 6 years. Whatever he went through, Whoever he is, I'm sure the last thing he needs is a broke ex-hotel maid following him around like a puppy. Or maybe, Jen said slowly, he'd want to thank the woman who saved his life. It doesn't matter now, Maya said firmly. I'm here. He's there. That chapter is closed. But late that night, alone in her borrowed room, Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through the photos she'd taken at the clinic. Dr. Park had caught her looking at the unconscious shifter and had insisted on taking a picture for the medical records. Maya had saved it. She stared at his face in the photo. Peaceful, vulnerable, beautiful, and felt something twist in her chest. I hope you're okay, she whispered to the screen. Wherever you are. True to her word, Jen got Maya an interview at her pharmaceutical company, Alliance Biotech, within the week. It's just a receptionist position, Jen explained as they rode the train downtown. But it's $45,000 a year with benefits, and once you're in the company, you can transfer to other departments. They're always looking for good people. The interview went well. Maya's customer service experience from the hotel translated surprisingly well to corporate reception work, and the HR director seemed impressed by her references. Dr. Park had written her a glowing recommendation letter that somehow made carrying a wounded shifter through a snowstorm sound like excellent crisis management experience. Maya got the job. She started the following Monday, stationed at the sleek reception desk in the marble-floored lobby of Alliance Biotech's Center City headquarters. The work was easy, answering phones, directing visitors, managing the schedule for the executive conference room. It was boring and corporate, and absolutely nothing like the chaotic stress of hotel housekeeping. Maya loved it. She loved having a desk with her name on it. Loved the predictable hours and the health insurance, and the fact that no one expected her to scrub toilets or deal with Marcus Garcia's wandering hands. She loved that she could afford her own apartment, a tiny studio in South Philly, but it was hers, paid for with her own money from her own job. For the first time in years, Maya felt like her life was moving forward instead of just surviving. 3 months passed. Maya settled into Philadelphia, into her new job, into the rhythm of a life that didn't involve constant crisis. She made friends with the other receptionists, explored the city on weekends, video chatted with Dr. Park once a week. She tried not to think about San Diego. Tried not to think about silver eyes and dark hair and the man she'd carried through the snow. Mostly, she succeeded. But sometimes, late at night, she'd pull up that photo on her phone and wonder. Chapter 4. The announcement came on a Wednesday morning in May. Maya was at her desk, reviewing the schedule for the executive conference room, when Jen appeared, practically vibrating with excitement. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jen hissed, leaning over the reception desk. Did you hear? Hear what? Maya asked, looking up from her computer. The Alpha King is coming to Philadelphia. To our building. Jen's eyes were huge. Alliance Biotech is hosting some kind of summit about shifter integration policy, and he's going to be the keynote speaker. Here, in 3 days. Maya's heart stuttered. The Alpha King? I know, right? I've never seen him in person. No one has, really. He's been on the front lines for 6 years, barely any public appearances. Jen grabbed Maya's arm. This is huge. Like history-making huge. The war is officially over, and he's starting his public reintegration tour here, in Philadelphia, in our building. Maya forced herself to breathe normally. That's really something. Something? Maya, this is incredible. Do you know what this means for the company? For us? We're going to be part of. Jen stopped, peering at Maya's face. Are you okay? You look pale.
I am fine, Maya lied.
Just surprised, that's all. But she wasn't fine. Because somewhere in her chest, something was pulling. A strange, inexplicable certainty that she couldn't name or explain. The Alpha King was coming to Philadelphia, and Maya had a feeling her carefully rebuilt life was about to implode. The next 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. Alliance Biotech went into overdrive, transforming the executive conference room into something suitable for hosting royalty. Security protocols were tripled. Background checks were run on every employee who would be working that day. The entire building buzzed with nervous energy. Maya watched it all from her reception desk, her stomach in knots. She told herself she was being ridiculous. The Alpha King was probably some grizzled old warrior, scarred and hardened by years of combat. The chances that he was the man she'd saved in San Diego were astronomical. But the pulling in her chest wouldn't stop. On the morning of the summit, Maya dressed more carefully than usual. A navy blue dress that Jen had helped her pick out, professional but flattering. Her grandmother's jade bracelet. Hair swept up in a neat bun. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. 3 months ago, she'd been sleeping on a park bench. Now she was wearing a dress that cost more than a week's wages at the hotel, working in a building made of glass and marble, about to see one of the most powerful shifters in the world. "You've come a long way, Maya Chen," she whispered to her reflection. The summit was scheduled for 2 p.m. By noon, the building was locked down. Security checkpoints at every entrance. Secret Service agents in dark suits stationed throughout the lobby. Maya sat at her desk, her hands trembling slightly as she directed the last of the early arrivals to the conference floor. At 1:45, a sleek motorcade pulled up outside. Maya watched through the glass walls as car doors opened. Security detail first, scanning the street, the building, everything. Then aides, assistants, people in expensive suits carrying briefcases and tablets. And then him. Maya's breath stopped. He stepped out of the center vehicle, and the world seemed to slow down.
Tall.
Broad-shouldered. Moving with a predator's grace even in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Dark hair, sharp features, an air of command that made everyone around him seem smaller, less significant. He turned toward the building, and Maya saw his face. Silver-gray eyes. A scar through his left eyebrow. Strong jaw. Full lips. It was him. The man from the beach. The wolf she'd carried through the snow. The stranger whose face had haunted her dreams for 3 months. He was the Alpha King. Maya gripped the edge of her desk, her legs suddenly weak. Oh God. Oh God. She'd kissed the Alpha King. She'd found him bleeding on a beach, carried him through a city, sat beside him for hours talking about her stupid life and her stupid problems. She'd touched his bare chest, felt his heartbeat, held his hand while he fought off poison. And then she'd left. Walked away without a word, without leaving her name or number. Just vanished like he meant nothing. The doors opened, and the security team entered first, sweeping the lobby with professional efficiency. Then the aides. Then he walked through the doors, and Maya stopped breathing. His eyes swept the lobby, taking in everything with a quick assessment of someone trained to identify threats. Past the security checkpoint, past the waiting executives, past the decorative plants and modern art. And stopped on her. Maya saw the moment he recognized her. His whole body went still. Those silver eyes widened, just fractionally, and something blazed in them. Shock, recognition, relief. Something fierce and hungry and too complicated to name. He took a step toward her, his lips parting like he was about to speak. Then one of his aides touched his arm, murmuring something about the schedule, and the moment shattered. The Alpha King's expression smoothed into professional neutrality. He nodded to his aide, allowing himself to be guided toward the elevators. But his eyes never left Maya's face. And just before the elevator doors closed, he smiled. It was a small smile, barely a curve of his lips, but it was there. And it made Maya's heart stop all over again. Maya somehow made it through the next hour without having a complete breakdown. Her hands shook as she answered phones, directed visitors, pretended everything was normal while her entire world tilted on its axis. He was here. The man she'd saved, the man she'd dreamed about, the man she'd convinced herself she'd never see again. He was here, in her building, probably 50 feet above her head right now, giving a speech about shifter integration policy. And he'd recognized her. What did that mean? What was she supposed to do? Her phone buzzed with a text from Jen. OMG, the Alpha King is gorgeous. Did you see him come in? Maya typed back with trembling fingers. Yeah,
I saw.
She didn't mention that she'd seen him before. that she'd seen a lot more of him than anyone else in this building ever would. At 3:30, her desk phone rang. Internal line. Reception. This is Maya. Ms. Chen. An unfamiliar voice. Male. Professional. This is Robert Caldwell, Chief of Staff for His Majesty. Could you come up to the executive conference floor, please? There's a matter that requires your attention. Maya's heart hammered. What kind of matter? His Majesty specifically requested your presence. Top floor, executive suite. Someone will meet you at the elevator. The line clicked dead. Maya sat frozen, staring at the phone. He'd requested her presence. The Alpha King, because that's what he was, not just the beautiful stranger from the beach, but the most powerful shifter in North America, had specifically asked for her. Jen appeared at her desk. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I have to go upstairs, Maya said faintly. The Alpha King wants to see me. What? Jen's voice came out as a strangled squeak.
Why?
What did you do? I don't know, Maya lied. But she did know. She knew exactly why. She just didn't know what she was going to say when she got there. Chapter 5. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like an eternity, and an instant all at once. Maya smoothed her dress with sweaty palms, checked her reflection in the polished elevator doors, tried to remember how to breathe. What was she supposed to say? Hey, remember me? I carried you through San Diego while you were bleeding to death? Small world.
No.
That was insane. But what else was there? The doors opened onto a hushed corridor, all dark wood and expensive carpet. A man in a dark suit, Secret Service, definitely stood waiting. Miss Chen? This way, please. He led her down the corridor to a set of double doors, knocked twice, then pushed them open. Ms. Maya Chen, Your Majesty, he announced, then stepped aside. Maya's legs felt like water as she walked into the room. It was a private office, temporarily commandeered for the Alpha King's use, she assumed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Philadelphia skyline. A massive desk, leather chairs, and standing by the window, backlit by the afternoon sun, was him. He turned as she entered, and the full force of his attention hit her like a physical thing. Leave us, he said quietly, not taking his eyes off Maya. The Secret Service agent hesitated. Your Majesty, protocol requires. I said leave us. There was steel beneath the calm words. This woman saved my life 3 months ago. I think I can trust her alone in a room for 5 minutes. The agent withdrew, closing the doors behind him. Silence fell. Maya stood frozen just inside the doors, her heart hammering so loud she was certain he could hear it. He moved toward her slowly, like he was afraid she might bolt. Maya Chen. Her name and his voice made her shiver. You remember me, she whispered. Remember you? Something incredulous flickered across his face. I've thought of nothing else for 3 months. I woke up in that clinic and you were gone. Dr. Park said you'd left the city. Wouldn't tell me where you'd gone, said you'd asked her not to. He took another step closer. I had my people searching for you. Do you have any idea how many Maya Chens there are in America? Thousands. And none of them were you. I didn't think. Maya's voice broke. I didn't think you'd care. I didn't even know who you were. I know. His lips curved into a small, devastating smile. That's what made it so remarkable. You saved the life of a stranger. Gave up everything for someone you thought was just a soldier. He was close enough now that she could see the flecks of darker gray in his eyes, could smell cedar and something wilder underneath. Dr. Park told me what it cost you.
Your job.
Your home. Everything. It was worth it, Maya said simply. His expression transformed, something raw and wondering breaking through the careful control. You said that before. In the clinic. You said you hoped saving me was worth it. His hand came up, hovering near her face like he wanted to touch her, but wasn't sure he had permission.
Did you mean it?
Yes, Maya breathed. You spent 6 years fighting for people like me. The least I could do was carry you 3 blocks. 3 blocks. His voice roughened. You carried me 3 blocks through a snowstorm while bleeding and exhausted and knowing it would cost you everything. What else was I supposed to do? Leave you there to die? Yes, he said bluntly. That's what everyone else did. The hotel staff, the people on the street. Do you know how many people walked past me that morning before you came? 17. I counted them even through the fever. 17 people saw a dying shifter and kept walking. Maya's throat tightened. They were wrong. And you were right. His hand finally made contact, his fingers brushing her cheek with devastating gentleness. You are so right, Maya-chan. She was trembling now, her whole body vibrating with the nearness of him, with the impossibility of this moment. I don't understand, she whispered. Why did you bring me up here? Why track me down? Because I owe you a debt, he said simply. You saved the Alpha King's life, whether you knew it or not. That deserves recognition. Reward. Something cold settled in Maya's stomach. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. His thumb traced the line of her cheekbone. And I intend to repay it. I want to offer you a position in my household. Head of guest relations for the royal residence. It's based in Los Angeles. The pack has its headquarters there. The salary is… No, Maya interrupted, stepping back from his touch. He blinked, clearly not expecting that response. No. I don't want a job offer as a thank you for not letting you die on a beach. Maya's voice came out sharper than she intended. I didn't save you, so you'd feel obligated to me. I saved you because it was the right thing to do. I know that, he said, confusion flickering across his face. That's exactly why I'm offering. I don't want your charity, Maya said, her chest tight with something she couldn't name. Disappointment, maybe. Or hurt. I'm doing fine here. I have a job, an apartment, a life. I don't need you to rescue me, just because I rescued you first. She turned toward the door. Maya, wait. Thank you for thinking of me, Your Majesty, she said without turning around. I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're well, but I don't need anything from you. She walked out before he could respond, before the burning in her eyes could turn into actual tears. Because he'd brought her up here to offer her a job. A position in his household, like she was some employee he needed to compensate. Not because he'd thought about her the way she'd thought about him. Not because those hours in the clinic had meant something more than gratitude. Just business. Just obligation. Maya made it to the elevator, hit the button for the lobby, and let herself feel stupid for exactly 30 seconds. Then she wiped her eyes, straightened her spine, and went back to work. Chapter 6. Maya thought that would be the end of it. She'd turned down the Alpha King's job offer. She'd made it clear she didn't want his charity. That should have been enough. It wasn't. The next morning, a delivery arrived at the reception desk. A stunning bouquet of white roses and jade-colored orchids, her grandmother's favorite flowers, she realized with a shock. How did he know that? The card read, "Please reconsider. I meant no offense. R." Maya stared at the flowers, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. Holy shit, Jen breathed, appearing at her shoulder. Are those from who I think they're from? I don't know what you're talking about, Maya said, but her cheeks were burning. Maya-chan. Jen grabbed her arm. Did the Alpha King send you flowers? What the hell happened yesterday? Maya opened her mouth to deflect, but her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Dr. Park gave me your number. I hope that's all right. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. The job offer came out wrong.
Can we talk?
Roven. His name was Roven. She'd carried the Alpha King through a snowstorm, and his name was Roven. I have to make a phone call, Maya said faintly. She stepped outside into the Philadelphia morning, the spring air cool against her overheated skin, and called the number. He answered on the first ring. Maya. Just her name, but the relief in his voice made her stomach flip. You sent me flowers, she said. I did. Do you like them? I had to call Dr. Park to find out what you'd appreciate. She mentioned your grandmother loved orchids. Maya looked at the bouquet visible through the glass doors, at the care that had gone into choosing exactly the right arrangement. They're beautiful. Good. A pause. I'm sorry about yesterday. I handled that badly. You don't have to apologize. Yes, I do, he interrupted gently. I made you feel like I was trying to pay you off. That wasn't my intention. I genuinely think you'd be excellent in that position, and I'd like to work with someone I trust. But I realize now how it must have sounded. Maya leaned against the building's exterior wall, closing her eyes. Why do you even care? You're the Alpha King. You must have hundreds of people offering you loyalty, service, whatever you need. I have thousands of people offering me loyalty, Rowan said quietly. What I don't have is people who save my life without knowing who I am. People who sacrifice everything for a stranger. People who look at me and see a wounded soldier instead of a king who can grant them favors. Something in his voice, raw honesty, vulnerability, made Maya's breath catch. You weren't just a stranger, she said softly. You were someone who'd given 6 years of your life protecting people like me. That matters. It matters to you, he corrected. Most people see the uniform and feel entitled to our service. You saw it and felt grateful. Do you know how rare that is? Maya didn't know what to say to that. Have dinner with me, Rowan said suddenly. Not as the Alpha King offering a subject a job. Just as Rowan, asking Maya if she'd like to have dinner with him. Maya's heart stuttered. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because you're the Alpha King and I'm a receptionist. Because you live in Los Angeles and I live in Philadelphia. Because this, whatever this is, it can't go anywhere. You know that. I know that you saved my life, Rowan said. I know that I spent 3 months looking for you. I know that when I saw you yesterday in that lobby, I felt something I haven't felt in 6 years. His voice dropped lower, more intimate. I know that you're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing I think about before I sleep. And I know that I'd really like to take you to dinner. Just once. Just to see if this feeling is real, or if I've built you up in my head into something impossible. Maya's eyes burned. Rowan. Please, he said simply. One dinner. If you hate it, if I'm wrong about this connection, I'll never bother you again. But give me a chance. Give us a chance. Maya looked up at the Philadelphia sky, at the clouds moving overhead, and thought about the man she'd carried through the snow. About silver eyes opening in a clinic room. About a smile in an elevator that had made her heart stop. One dinner, she heard herself say. But I'm paying for myself. She could hear the smile in his voice. Deal. Rowan picked her up outside her apartment building that Friday evening, and Maya had to physically stop herself from gaping.
He wasn't in a suit this time.
Just dark jeans, a black Henley that clung to his shoulders in ways that should be illegal, and a leather jacket that made him look dangerous and impossibly handsome. You're staring, he said, but he looked pleased. You're not wearing a crown, Maya shot back. I'm adjusting. He laughed, a real laugh, warm and surprised, and opened the car door for her. Not a limo or motorcade, just a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. Discreet. Where are we going? Maya asked as he pulled into traffic. There's a place in Old City I've heard is excellent. Small, quiet, the kind of place where we can actually talk without every phone in the room pointed at us. He glanced at her. Is that okay? As long as you promise not to offer me a job, Maya said. I promise. His hand found hers on the center console, his fingers threading through hers with easy confidence. Tonight isn't about business. It's just about us.
Us.
The word made something warm bloom in Maya's chest. The restaurant was everything he'd promised. Small, intimate, tucked into a historic building with exposed brick and candlelight and exactly zero paparazzi. The owner greeted Rowan with familiarity, led them to a corner table that offered privacy, and vanished discreetly. You come here often? Maya asked, settling into her chair. First time, Rowan admitted. But I had my people research restaurants in Philadelphia that would give us privacy. This one came highly recommended. He leaned forward, his eyes catching the candlelight. Tell me about Philadelphia. Are you happy here? Maya told him about her job, her apartment, Jen, and the friends she'd made. About exploring the city on weekends, about the Reading Terminal Market, and the way the Schuylkill River looked at sunset. He listened like every word mattered, asking questions, laughing at her stories about learning to navigate SEPTA. What about you? Maya asked eventually. What have you been doing for the last 3 months besides apparently searching for me? Rovin's expression grew more serious. Transitioning. The war is over, really over, and now we have to figure out what peace looks like. Integration treaties with human governments. Rehabilitation programs for soldiers who've been fighting since they were teenagers. Rebuilding territory that was destroyed. He paused. It's harder than the fighting, honestly. At least in war, the objectives are clear. You're good at it though, Maya said. I watched your speech yesterday. Online. She added quickly when he looked surprised. You were really good. The way you talked about finding common ground, about building something new, people listened. Did you listen? He asked softly. Maya met his eyes.
Yeah.
I listened. His hand found hers across the table.
Good.
They talked through dinner, through dessert, through coffee. Hours passed like minutes. Maya found herself telling him things she'd never told anyone. About her parents' car accident when she was 16, about raising herself through her last years of high school, about her grandmother's decline and death 2 years ago. Rovin told her about the war, about friends he'd lost, about the weight of command, of sending young shifters into battles they might not survive, about the nightmares that still woke him some nights, the phantom pain in his shoulder where the poison had spread. That's where you found me, he said, touching his shoulder unconsciously. I'd been traveling for 3 days, trying to make it home before the poison killed me. I'd shifted to my wolf form thinking it would help me heal faster, but the poison was designed to prevent exactly that. His eyes grew distant. I remember collapsing in those rocks, thinking this was it. That after 6 years surviving impossible odds, I was going to die alone on a beach 50 miles from home. Maya's chest tightened. You weren't alone.
No.
His eyes refocused on her, intense and grateful. Because you found me. You carried me when you could barely walk yourself. You stayed with me. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. Dr. Park told me you talked to me. While I was unconscious. Do you remember what you said? Maya felt heat flood her cheeks. I don't remember exactly. She said you thanked me. Rovin continued softly. For my service. For protecting the kingdom. She said you told me I was a hero. His voice roughened. Do you know how long it had been since someone called me that? Since someone saw the uniform and felt gratitude instead of expectation. You are a hero, Maya said simply. All of you who fought are heroes. And you're the only person who's ever made me feel like one. The air between them felt charged, heavy with something Maya couldn't name, but felt down to her bones. Rovin, she whispered. I know this is complicated, he said, leaning forward. I know I'm asking for something that doesn't make sense. You're here. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm the Alpha King, and you're trying to build a normal life. But Maya, I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop feeling like I found something precious on that beach, and I'd be an idiot to let it go without at least trying. Trying what? Maya asked, her heart racing. Us. His eyes held hers. I want to try us. I want to see where this goes. I want to know if what I feel right now, this certainty that you're important, that you're mine, is real or just trauma and gratitude and loneliness. I don't know if I'm yours, Maya said, but her voice was shaking. Then let's find out, Rovin said. Stay in Philadelphia, if that's what you need. I'll come here. We'll take it slow, figure it out as we go. But please, his hand tightened on hers. Please don't walk away, because you're afraid it won't work. Give me a chance to prove it could. Maya looked at their joined hands, at the way his fingers dwarfed hers, at the scars visible on his wrist. She thought about the man she'd carried through snow, about the way he'd smiled at her in the elevator, about the flowers and the phone call, and the way he looked at her right now, like she was the most important thing in his world. Okay, she whispered. We can try. The smile that broke across Rovin's face was brilliant, transforming him from the intimidating Alpha King into just a man who'd gotten exactly what he wanted. Yeah, he asked, like he couldn't quite believe it. Yeah, Maya confirmed, and then he was moving around the table, pulling her up into his arms and kissing her. It was nothing like the quick, frightened kiss she'd given him in the clinic. This was fire and promise and hunger barely leashed. His hand cradled the back of her head, his other arm banded around her waist, and Maya forgot how to breathe, forgot how to think, forgot everything except the taste of him and the solid warmth of his body and the low sound he made when she kissed him back. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Rowan rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since I woke up in that clinic and you were gone," he murmured. "I'm not gone now," Maya said. "No," he agreed. "And I'm not letting you go again." Chapter 7. The next 3 months were the happiest and most frustrating of Maya's life. Rowan returned to Los Angeles, to his duties as Alpha King, but he called her every night. Sometimes just for 5 minutes between meetings, sometimes for hours, talking until they both fell asleep with phones still connected. He sent flowers every week. Different arrangements, always with personal notes that made her smile or laugh or sometimes cry. "Thinking of you. Hope Philadelphia is treating you well.
R.
These reminded me of the orchids from your grandmother's garden. You told me about them on our second date. Missing you is becoming a full-time job. Good thing I'm the boss." They video chatted whenever his schedule allowed. Maya got used to seeing him in royal regalia, suits and formal wear, sometimes with other officials visible in the background. He got used to seeing her in pajamas, hair messy, face makeup free. "You're beautiful," he'd say, and Maya would laugh because she was wearing a ratty old t-shirt and had toothpaste on her chin. "You're delusional," she'd respond. "I'm in love with you," he'd counter. "There's a difference." He flew to Philadelphia twice, brief visits, 24 hours snatched between diplomatic obligations. They spent those hours walking through the city, eating at hole-in-the-wall restaurants, stealing kisses in shadowed doorways like teenagers. Maya flew to Los Angeles once, a weekend trip that Rowan had insisted on paying for despite her protests. "You're visiting me," he'd argued. "The least I can do is cover the flight. I can pay for my own plane ticket." "Maya." His voice had been patient but firm. "I'm the Alpha King. I have more money than God. Let me buy you a plane ticket. Please." She'd relented, mostly because she wanted to see him so badly it hurt. Los Angeles was overwhelming. Massive and sprawling and nothing like San Diego or Philadelphia. Rowan met her at the airport himself, no security detail, just him in jeans and sunglasses, looking unfairly handsome. He'd taken her to his residence. Not a palace exactly, but close. A sprawling compound in the Hollywood Hills with views of the city that took her breath away. "This is where you live?" Maya had asked, standing in the marble-floored entryway. "This is where I exist between obligations," Rowan had corrected. "I wouldn't call it living. It's too big, too empty." He'd pulled her close. "But having you here makes it feel more like a home." They'd spent the weekend in a bubble, barely leaving the property. He'd cooked for her, surprisingly well, and they'd watched movies and talked and made love in his enormous bed with the city lights glittering below them. It had been perfect. It had been temporary. And when Maya had to leave Sunday night, when Rowan had driven her to the airport and kissed her goodbye with desperate intensity, she'd felt something crack in her chest. "This isn't sustainable," she'd said against his lips. "We can't keep doing this. These stolen hours. These visits that end too soon." "I know," Rowan had said. "I'm working on it." "Working on what?" "A solution." He'd kissed her again. "Trust me." The solution came in the form of a job offer. Not from Rowan. He'd learned that lesson, but from Alliance Biotech. Maya's supervisor called her into his office on a Tuesday afternoon, looking both excited and slightly nervous. "Maya, we've been impressed with your work over the past 6 months," he began. "Your professionalism, your reliability, your ability to manage high-pressure situations."
He paused.
"We'd like to offer you a promotion. Executive liaison, based in our Los Angeles office. You'd be coordinating between our East Coast and West Coast operations, managing relationships with key partners, basically being the face of Alliance Biotech for our most important clients." Maya's heart stopped. "Los Angeles? I know it's a big move," her supervisor continued, "but it comes with a significant salary increase, $80,000, plus relocation assistance and housing stipend. And honestly, Maya, you'd be perfect for it. You have the people skills, the attention to detail, and frankly, the connections. Connections? Maya asked faintly. Her supervisor looked uncomfortable. We're aware of your relationship with His Majesty. The Alpha King is one of our biggest advocates for shifter integration programs, and having someone on staff who has his trust could be invaluable for. Stop, Maya interrupted, her stomach churning. Are you offering me this job because you think I'll give you access to Roven?
No.
Her supervisor looked genuinely shocked. God, no, Maya. You're being offered this because you're qualified. The relationship is it's a factor we'd be stupid not to acknowledge, but it's not why you're being promoted. I promise. Maya wanted to believe him, wanted to believe this was legitimate, that she'd earned this through her own merit. But doubt wormed its way into her chest anyway. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course.
Take a week.
But Maya. Her supervisor leaned forward. This is a real opportunity. Don't let pride make you turn down something that could be great for your career. Maya left the office in a daze. Los Angeles. A promotion. $80,000. And it just happened to be the city where Roven lived. She called him that night. Did you know about this? She asked without preamble. Hello to you too, Roven said, amusement in his voice. Then, more seriously, know about what? Alliance Biotech offered me a job in Los Angeles. Executive liaison. Big salary, nice title, and oh so conveniently located in the same city as you. Maya paced her tiny apartment. Tell me you didn't do this. Tell me you didn't use your influence to get me this job. Silence on the other end of the line. Roven, Maya said warningly. I didn't get you the job, he said carefully. But I may have mentioned to Alliance Biotech CEO that they'd be smart to utilize their talented employees more effectively. And when he asked if I knew anyone who might be good for the liaison position they were creating, I may have said that you were one of the most capable, professional people I'd ever worked with. You. Maya couldn't even finish the sentence. You basically got me this job. I got you the interview, Roven corrected. You got yourself the job by being excellent at what you do. Maya, they've been watching you for months. Your supervisor has been singing your praises since you started. All I did was make sure they didn't overlook you for a position you're perfect for. But you used your influence. Yes, Roven interrupted. I did. Because I'm tired of missing you. I'm tired of snatched phone calls and weekend visits that never last long enough. I want to fall asleep next to you and wake up beside you and have breakfast with you on Tuesday mornings. I want normal, Maya. I want a relationship that isn't defined by distance and longing. His voice dropped. And if that means using my position to make sure the woman I love gets an opportunity she deserves anyway, then I'm not remotely sorry. Maya sat down hard on her couch, her legs suddenly weak. You can't manipulate my career because you want me closer, she said, but her voice lacked heat. I'm not manipulating anything. The job is real, the opportunity is real, and you'd be amazing at it. But if you don't want it, if you want to stay in Philadelphia and keep doing long distance, I'll respect that. A pause. I'll hate it, but I'll respect it. Maya closed her eyes, trying to sort through the tangle of emotions. Anger at his interference. Gratitude that he wanted her close. Fear that she was making decisions based on a relationship that was still so new. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. I need to think about it, she said finally. Take all the time you need, Roven said gently. I'm not going anywhere. Maya called Jen that night, needing advice from someone who wasn't in love with her. They met at their favorite wine bar in Fairmount, and Maya spilled everything. The job offer, Roven's interference, her confusion about what to do. So let me get this straight, Jen said when Maya finished. The Alpha King, who you saved from dying on a beach, who you've been in a long-distance relationship with for 3 months, used his influence to make sure your company noticed how talented you are so they'd offer you a promotion that would let you live in the same city as him. Yes, Maya said miserably. And you're upset about this because? Maya blinked. Because he manipulated my career? Did he though? Jen leaned forward. Maya, I've watched you for 6 months. You're amazing at your job. You're professional, you're smart, you handle difficult people with grace. You deserve that promotion. The only thing Rowan did was make sure the executives noticed what everyone else already knew. But what if I'm only getting it because of him? Then turn it down, Jen said simply. Call them tomorrow and say no. Stay here, keep working reception, maintain your pride. She paused. But ask yourself, are you turning it down because it's the wrong choice? Or because you're scared of what the right choice might mean? Maya stared into her wine glass. What if it doesn't work out? She asked quietly. What if I move across the country for him and we break up in 6 months, and then I'm stuck in LA with a job I only got because I was sleeping with the Alpha King? What if it does work out? Jen countered. What if you move to LA and fall even more in love and build a life with him and look back in 10 years and thank God you were brave enough to take the risk? She reached across the table, squeezing Maya's hand. You carried that man through a blizzard when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. You were brave then. Be brave now. Maya felt tears burn her eyes. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise, Jen said. You just usually don't listen to me. Chapter 8. Maya accepted the job. She gave 2 weeks' notice at Alliance Biotech Philadelphia, packed up her tiny studio apartment, and said tearful goodbyes to Jen and the friends she'd made over the past 9 months. You better visit, Jen demanded, hugging her fiercely at the airport. And video chat at least twice a week. I need to live vicariously through your romance with literal royalty. It's not as glamorous as you think, Maya said, but she was smiling. Liar, Jen accused. Now go. Your prince is waiting. Rowan met her at LAX and Maya's breath caught at the sight of him. Dark jeans, white t-shirt, leather jacket, sunglasses pushed up into his hair. He looked like every California fantasy she'd ever had. He swept her into his arms before she could say a word, kissing her with enough heat that someone nearby whistled approvingly. You came, he murmured against her lips. You doubted I would? Every second until I saw your face. He pulled back, his hands framing her face. Welcome to Los Angeles, Maya Chen. Welcome home. Home. The word settled in her chest like a promise. The first month in Los Angeles was an adjustment. The city was huge, sprawling, nothing like Philadelphia's walkable neighborhoods or San Diego's beachside charm. Traffic was a nightmare. Everything was expensive. The job was demanding in ways Maya hadn't anticipated. But Rowan made it worthwhile. He'd helped her find an apartment in West Hollywood, not in his compound, despite his obvious desire to have her move in immediately. We should take this at your pace, he'd said. You've already uprooted your entire life for me. The least I can do is let you have your own space until you're ready to share mine. Maya had appreciated the consideration, even as part of her wanted to skip straight to living together. They fell into a routine. Dinner together 3 or 4 nights a week, alternating between her place and his. Weekends exploring the city, hiking in Griffith Park, walking the Santa Monica Pier, finding hidden restaurants in Silver Lake and Echo Park. Rowan introduced her to his inner circle carefully. His beta, Cameron, who ran security. His chief of staff, Robert Caldwell. His sister, Lydia, who ruled the PAC's charitable foundation with an iron fist and sharp humor. Lydia had taken one look at Maya and pulled her into a hug. Thank God, she'd said. I was starting to think my brother was going to die alone surrounded by boring politicians. You're perfect. You don't even know me, Maya had protested, laughing. You saved his life when you had nothing to gain, Lydia had said simply. That's all I need to know. Work was challenging but rewarding. Maya discovered she had a talent for managing relationships between Alliance Biotech's various departments and external partners. She coordinated shipments of medical supplies to shifter rehabilitation centers, facilitated meetings between pharmaceutical researchers and military doctors, served as the friendly face of the company at events and conferences. And yes, her relationship with Rowan opened doors. She wouldn't deny that. But she worked twice as hard as anyone else to prove she deserved to walk through those doors. 3 months into the job, her new supervisor called her into his office. Maya, I wanted to tell you personally, you're exceeding every expectation we had. The feedback from our partners has been universally positive. You're making a real difference here. Maya felt pride bloom warm in her chest. Thank you. That means a lot. I also wanted to address something. Her supervisor looked uncomfortable. There have been some rumors about your relationship with His Majesty. Some people questioning whether you earned your position or if it was given to you. Maya's stomach sank. I see. I'm telling you this because I want you to hear it from me first. Those rumors are bullshit, her supervisor said bluntly. You're here because you're good at what you do. Yes, your connection to the Alpha King helps. But you know what else helps? Being competent, professional, and excellent with people. You have all three. He leaned forward. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself. You belong here. Maya left the office feeling steadier, more certain. She was building something real in Los Angeles. A career, a life, a future. And at the center of it all was Roven. Chapter 9. It started with an email. Maya was at her desk on a Wednesday afternoon, reviewing supply chain reports, when a message appeared in her inbox from an unfamiliar address. Subject: You should know the truth. Maya almost deleted it. It looked like spam, but something made her click. What she found made her blood run cold. Ms. Chen, you seem like a nice person, so I thought you should know what you're really involved in. The Alpha King isn't the hero everyone thinks he is. During the war, he made decisions that cost innocent lives. Civilian casualties that were covered up. War crimes that were buried. I'm attaching documents that prove what I'm saying. Medical records from shifter rehabilitation centers showing soldiers with PTSD from orders they were forced to follow. Incident reports that were classified. Eyewitness testimony from battles where surrender was offered and ignored. Roven Blackthorn isn't a hero. He's a war criminal. And you're helping him rebuild his reputation. I thought you deserved to know who you're sleeping with. Maya's hands shook as she clicked on the attachments. Military documents, marked classified. Medical records with names redacted. Reports detailing attacks on enemy positions where civilians were present. Testimony from soldiers describing orders to kill anyone who resisted. It was damning. It was horrible. It couldn't be real. Could it? Maya stared at her computer screen, her stomach churning. These documents looked legitimate. Official seals, proper formatting, details that were too specific to be fabricated. But this was Roven, the man she loved. The man who'd spent 6 years fighting to protect his people. The man who woke up screaming from nightmares about friends he'd lost, who visited rehabilitation centers every week to check on wounded soldiers, who'd built his entire post-war agenda around healing and integration. He wasn't the war criminal. Was he? Maya closed her laptop, her min. Deracing. She needed to talk to someone. Someone who would be objective, who could help her think through this rationally. Not Roven.
Not yet.
Not until she understood what she was looking at. She picked up her phone and called the one person who'd been with her from the beginning. Dr. Park? It's Maya. I need your help. They met at a coffee shop in Santa Monica 2 hours later. Dr. Park had driven up from San Diego immediately when Maya explained, vaguely, that she needed advice about something serious. What's going on? Dr. Park asked, sliding into the booth across from Maya. You sounded upset on the phone. Maya pulled out her laptop, then hesitated. Before I show you this, I need to know, when you treated Roven when he was in your clinic, did you notice anything? Anything that seemed wrong? Dr. Park's brow furrowed. Wrong how? I don't know. Anything that would suggest he wasn't who he seemed to be. Maya, you're scaring me. What happened? Maya turned her laptop around, showing Dr. Park the email and attachments. The veterinarian read in silence, her expression growing more troubled with each document. When she finally looked up, her face was pale. Where did you get these? She asked. Anonymous email. But Dr. Park, they look real. The seals, the formatting, the level of detail. They are real, Dr. Park interrupted quietly. Or at least, they're based on real documents. I've seen reports like this before. After the war ended, there were rumors about certain incidents. Battles that went badly. Civilian casualties. Nothing was ever proven, but there were whispers. Maya felt her world tilting. So it's true? Rowan ordered attacks on civilians. I don't know, Dr. Park said carefully. Maya, war is complicated. Command decisions are complicated. Without context, without knowing the full situation, these documents could mean anything.
She paused.
But I will say this. The Rowan I treated, the man who spent 3 days delirious with fever calling out names of soldiers he'd lost, who woke up crying about men who died under his command, that man was haunted by the weight of leadership. He wasn't a monster. But what if I don't really know him? Maya whispered. What if I fell in love with someone who's done terrible things? Dr. Park reached across the table, gripping Maya's hand. Then you ask him. Directly. You show him these documents, and you ask for the truth. And you listen to what he says. Her eyes were fierce. But Maya, I'm going to tell you something important. Whoever sent you this email wanted to hurt you. Wanted to make you doubt him. Ask yourself why. Who benefits from destroying your relationship? Maya hadn't thought about that. She'd been so focused on the content of the email that she hadn't considered the motive behind it. I don't know, she admitted. Then find out, Dr.
Park said.
Before you destroy something precious over information that might be manipulated or taken out of context. Maya drove to Rowan's compound that evening, her stomach in knots. The guards at the gate recognized her immediately, waving her through without question. She parked in the circular driveway and sat for a moment, gathering her courage. She had to do this. Had to know the truth. Maya found Rowan in his home office, bent over a desk covered in papers. He looked up when she knocked, and his face transformed into that smile that always made her heart skip. Maya, I wasn't expecting you tonight. He stood, moving toward her. Not that I'm complaining. I was just finishing some budget reviews, and he stopped, seeing her expression. What's wrong? Maya's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone, opening the email. I received this today. I need you to read it. Rowan took the phone, his expression growing darker with each line. By the time he reached the attachments, his jaw was clenched tight enough that Maya could see the muscle ticking. Where did this come from? His voice was dangerously quiet. Anonymous email. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. Rowan, I need you to tell me the truth. Are these documents real? Did you order attacks on civilians? Rowan set the phone down carefully, like he was afraid he'd crush it. Yes. The word hung in the air between them like a death sentence. Maya's breath stopped. What? The documents are real, Rowan said, his voice flat. Or at least, they're based on real reports. There were incidents during the war where civilian casualties occurred, where decisions I made resulted in innocent deaths. He looked at her, his silver eyes bleak. I'm not going to lie to you, Maya. I'm not going to pretend I'm some perfect hero. War is ugly and complicated, and sometimes there are no good choices. But civilians, Maya whispered. Children, maybe. How could you? Do you want the context? Rowan interrupted. Or, do you want to condemn me based on cherry-picked documents from someone who's clearly trying to destroy us? Maya flinched. I want the truth. Fine. Rowan moved to the window, his back rigid. The first incident mentioned in those reports, the attack on a supply depot where civilians were present. That supply depot was providing weapons and ammunition to enemy forces. We had intelligence that they were preparing for a major offensive that would have resulted in thousands of shifter deaths. We offered surrender. They refused. They used civilians as human shields, knowing we'd hesitate. His hands clenched into fists. I had to choose between allowing a massacre of my soldiers or taking out the depot knowing civilians would die. I chose my soldiers. How many civilians? Maya asked, her voice breaking. 17, Rowan said. 17 people died because of my orders. And I carry every single one of them with me every day. He turned to face her. The second incident, enemy combatants who surrendered. The report makes it sound like we executed prisoners. What it doesn't mention is that they surrendered only after killing 12 of my men. And when we took them into custody, they tried to trigger explosives that would have killed everyone in the camp. We had no choice but to respond with lethal force. But there's always a but, Rovin said bitterly. Always context that makes it more complicated than it seems. Yes, I made decisions that resulted in deaths. Yes, some of those deaths were civilians. But I was trying to end a war, Maya. Trying to protect my people from an enemy that used every dirty tactic imaginable. And I'd do it again if I had to. Maya felt tears streaming down her face. I don't know if I can accept that. Then don't. Rovin's voice was harsh. Walk away. Decide I'm a monster and leave. But don't pretend you know what it's like to command soldiers in a war you didn't start. Don't pretend you understand the weight of decisions where every option results in someone dying. He took a step toward her. I told you from the beginning, I'm not a hero. I'm a soldier who did what he had to do to win. If that makes me a war criminal in your eyes, then I guess I am one. That's not fair, Maya said. You can't make me the villain here for asking questions about things that actually happened. I'm not making you the villain, Rovin said. I'm making you choose. Either you trust that I did the best I could in impossible situations, or you don't. Either you believe I'm the man you've gotten to know over these past 6 months, or you believe an anonymous email designed to destroy us. Maya wiped her eyes, her heart breaking. I need time to think. Of course you do, Rovin said, and there was something broken in his voice. Take all the time you need, Maya. But while you're thinking, ask yourself this. Who sent that email? Who benefits from making you doubt me? Because someone wants us apart, and they're willing to use classified documents and partial truths to make it happen. Maya grabbed her phone and walked out without another word, her vision blurred with tears. She drove aimlessly through Los Angeles, crying so hard she had to pull over twice. By the time she made it back to her apartment, it was past midnight and she was exhausted. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rovin. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been so harsh. None of this is your fault. I love you.
R.
Maya stared at the message until the screen went dark. She loved him too. God, she loved him so much it hurt. But how could she reconcile the man who held her tenderly, who visited wounded soldiers, who woke up screaming from nightmares? How could she reconcile that man with someone who'd ordered attacks knowing civilians would die? Maya pulled out her laptop, rereading the email and documents with fresh eyes. Dr. Park had been right. Whoever sent this wanted to hurt them. The documents were real, but the presentation was deliberately damaging. No context, no explanation. Just the bare facts arranged to make Rovin look like a monster.
Who would do that?
Maya's phone rang. Unknown number again. She answered cautiously. Hello. Ms. Chen? This is Marcus Garcia. I don't know if you remember me. Maya's blood ran cold. I remember you. Marcus from the Coronado Grand. The man who'd fired her for saving Rovin's life. What the hell was he doing calling her? I hope I'm not disturbing you, Marcus continued, his voice oily. I heard you'd moved to Los Angeles. Heard you're working for Alliance Biotech now. Quite the promotion for a former hotel maid. What do you want, Marcus? Maya asked flatly. I wanted to give you some advice, actually. Friend to friend.
He paused.
You received some interesting information today, didn't you? About your boyfriend's past. Maya's heart stopped. How do you know about that? Let's just say I have friends who are concerned about the Alpha King's influence, Marcus said smoothly. Friends who think the public deserves to know what kind of man is leading the shifter integration movement. Friends who are willing to pay handsomely for insider information. Understanding crashed over Maya like ice water. You sent the email. You're trying to use me to get dirt on Rovin. I'm trying to help you see the truth, Marcus corrected. That man you're so in love with? He's using you, Ms. Chen. Using your connection, your job, your access to rebuild his image after committing war crimes. And when he's done with you, when you're no longer useful, he'll discard you just like. Maya hung up. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. Marcus had sent the email. Marcus, who'd fired her for helping a wounded shifter, who'd made her life hell at the Coronado Grand, who she'd thought was finally out of her life forever. He was trying to destroy her relationship, trying to use her to destroy Rowan. And she'd almost let him. Maya grabbed her keys and ran.
Chapter 10.
Maya made it to Rowan's compound in record time, barely registering the drive. The guards let her through immediately, and she took the stairs to his private residence 2 at a time. She found him on the balcony overlooking the city, a glass of whiskey in his hand, his shoulders hunched like he was carrying the weight of the world. "Rowan," she called. He turned, surprise flickering across his face.
Maya?
"I thought you needed time." "It was Marcus," she interrupted, moving toward him. "My old manager from San Diego. He sent the email. He called me tonight, tried to recruit me to spy on you, to gather information he could sell to people who want to destroy you." She reached him, her hands coming up to frame his face. "I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you. I should have known." "You had every right to ask questions," Rowan said, his hands coming up to cover hers. "You barely know me, Maya. 6 months isn't that long. And those documents, they tell a damning story without context." "But you gave me context," Maya said. "And I should have listened instead of running away." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You were right. Someone wanted to destroy us. And I almost let them." Rowan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight enough that she could feel his heartbeat against her cheek. "You didn't let them. You're here now." "I'm here," Maya confirmed, wrapping her arms around his waist. "And I'm not leaving. Not because of Marcus, not because of some anonymous email, not because you made hard decisions in an impossible situation." She pulled back to look at him. "I know who you are, Rowan. I've seen you with the wounded soldiers, with the families who lost people in the war. I've heard you cry in your sleep. You're not a monster. You're a man who did what he had to do to protect his people." "I killed innocents," Rowan said, his voice rough. "That's not something you just forgive." "No," Maya agreed. "It's something you carry. Something you try to make right for the rest of your life." She stood on her toes, pressing her forehead to his. "And I want to help you carry it. If you'll let me." Rowan kissed her then, desperate and grateful and full of things he couldn't say. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "God, Maya, I love you so much it terrifies me." "I love you too," Maya said. "Even the broken parts. Especially the broken parts." They stood like that for a long moment, the Los Angeles night spread out below them, holding each other like they could keep the world at bay through sheer force of will. Finally, Rowan pulled back slightly. "We need to deal with Marcus." "Agreed," Maya said. "But how?" "We can't prove he sent the email, it was anonymous." "But we can prove he tried to recruit you tonight," Rowan pointed out. "You have his phone call in your records. And if he's working with others who are trying to discredit me, that's conspiracy against the Alpha King. That's treason." Maya's eyes widened. "You'd have him arrested?" "I'd have him investigated," Rowan corrected. "If he's selling classified documents, and those reports were classified, Maya, then he's committed serious crimes. Not because he targeted me, but because he's endangering national security." His expression hardened. "And, honestly, after what he did to you, after firing you for saving my life, I want him to face consequences." "I want that too," Maya admitted. "But I don't want to be the person who destroys someone else's life, even if they deserve it." "You won't be," Rowan assured her. "My security team will handle the investigation. If Marcus is guilty, and I think we both know he is, then he'll face appropriate legal consequences. You don't have to be involved beyond providing your testimony about tonight's phone call." Maya nodded slowly. "Okay. But Rowan," she gripped his hand, "promise me something. Promise me that if I ever doubt you again, if I ever have questions, you'll talk to me instead of shutting down. Tonight could have ended so differently if you hadn't been willing to give me context." "I promise," Rowan said. "And you promise me something too. If someone ever tries to come between us again, you'll come to me first." before believing anonymous emails, before making assumptions. You'll give me the chance to defend myself. I promise, Maya said. They sealed it with a kiss. Chapter 11. The investigation into Marcus Garcia moved quickly. Within 48 hours, Rovin's security team had traced the anonymous email back to an IP address registered to Marcus. They'd uncovered a network of anti-shifter extremists who were paying for damaging information about Rovin. Classified documents, personal details, anything that could be used to undermine public trust in shifter integration. Marcus had been selling information for months, using his connections from his time in San Diego's hospitality industry to gather intel from people who'd encountered shifters during the war. He was arrested on charges of trafficking in classified information, conspiracy, and attempted blackmail. The case made national news. Not because of the connection to Maya, which Rovin's team carefully kept quiet, but because it exposed a wider conspiracy to sabotage post-war peace efforts. Maya watched the news coverage from Rovin's couch, her head on his shoulder, feeling a complicated mix of vindication and sadness. He destroyed his own life, she said quietly. All that hate, all that effort to hurt people. And for what? Money. Fear, Rovin said. People like Marcus are afraid of change. Afraid of a world where shifters are integrated, where the old hierarchies don't matter anymore. He'd rather destroy that future than adapt to it. He kissed the top of her head. But he failed. The integration programs are moving forward. The public trusts us more than ever. And you and I, he tilted her face up to his. We're stronger than we were before. Maya smiled. We are, aren't we? Trauma bonding, Rovin said solemnly. Very romantic. Maya laughed and smacked his chest. Shut up. He caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. Make me. She did, thoroughly, until they were both breathless and laughing against each other's mouths. 3 months later, on a perfect October evening, Rovin took Maya to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the Pacific. Not just any restaurant, the same beachside establishment in San Diego where he'd collapsed in wolf form 9 months ago.
Dr.
Park had helped him arrange it, coordinating with the restaurant owners to reserve a private section with a view of the exact stretch of beach where Maya had found him. Maya didn't realize where they were until they pulled into the parking lot. Rovin, she breathed, staring at the familiar landscape. Is this the place where you saved my life? He confirmed, helping her out of the car. I wanted to bring you back here. Show you how far we've come. They walked down to the beach after dinner, hand in hand, the sand cool beneath their feet. The moon was full, painting the water silver, and the air was crisp with that rare San Diego chill. I was dying right here, Rovin said, stopping at the rocky outcropping where she'd found him. Delirious with poison, certain I'd never see home again. And then you appeared. He turned to face her. You have no idea what that meant to me. Not just the saving my life part. Though obviously that was important, but the fact that someone cared. That someone saw a wounded soldier and didn't see an inconvenience or a problem to avoid. You saw someone worth saving. You were worth saving, Maya said simply. I know that now, Rovin said. Because you taught me. You taught me that I'm more than just the Alpha King, more than just a soldier or a commander. I'm someone worthy of being loved for who I am, not what I can do for others. He reached into his pocket. Which brings me to why I really brought you here. Maya's breath caught as he dropped to one knee. Maya-chan, Rovin said, pulling out a small velvet box. You saved my life in this spot 9 months ago. You carried me through a blizzard when you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. You moved across the country for me. You trusted me even when you had reason to doubt. You see all of me, the broken parts and the beautiful parts, and you love me anyway. He opened the box, revealing a ring that glittered in the moonlight, a single diamond surrounded by jade stones. I want to spend the rest of my life earning that love, making you as happy as you've made me, building a future together that's worth everything we've sacrificed to get here. Will you marry me? Maya was crying, her hands covering her mouth, her heart oh full she thought it might burst. Yes, she managed. Yes, of course yes. Rovin stood, sliding the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, and then he was kissing her while Maya laughed and cried and kissed him back. Around them, the beach sparkled with snow, impossible San Diego snow, falling soft and perfect like a blessing. "Did you arrange this too?" Maya asked, laughing through tears. "I wish I could take credit," Rowan said. "But I think the universe is on our side tonight." They stayed on that beach for hours, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the snow fall on the Pacific while waves crashed against the rocks where their story had begun. 1 year later, the royal wedding took place in Los Angeles on a crisp December morning, 1 year to the day after Rowan had proposed. It was a blend of traditions, shifter customs and human elegance, formal ceremony and joyful celebration. Maya wore a gown that made her feel like a queen because, technically, she was about to become one. Rowan wore traditional royal regalia that somehow made him look even more devastating than usual. Jen was the maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Dr. Park sat in the front row with her mother, Helen, both beaming with pride. Lydia had organized everything with military precision, ensuring the day was perfect. The guest list was a who's who of shifter nobility and human dignitaries. But Maya barely noticed them. She had eyes only for Rowan, for the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the world, for the way his voice roughened when he spoke his vows, for the way he kissed her when they were finally pronounced husband and wife. The reception was held at the royal compound, transformed into something magical with lights and flowers and music. Maya danced with Rowan for their first dance, then with her new brother-in-law Cameron, then with various dignitaries who all wanted to meet the woman who'd captured the Alpha King's heart. Late in the evening, as the party was winding down, Rowan pulled Maya aside to a quiet corner of the garden. "Happy?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Deliriously," Maya said, leaning into him. "Though I still can't believe I'm actually married to the Alpha King. Sometimes I think I'm going to wake up on that park bench in San Diego and realize this was all a dream." "If you do," Rowan murmured against her hair, "I'll find you. I'll always find you, Maya. In every lifetime, in every version of this story, I'll find you and fall in love with you all over again." "That's very romantic for someone who is basically a dying wolf when I met you," Maya teased. "I contain multitudes," Rowan said solemnly. Maya laughed, tilting her face up for a kiss. "I love you, Your Majesty. I love you, my queen," Rowan said. "Thank you for saving my life." "Thank you for being worth saving," Maya replied. They stood in that garden, wrapped in each other and in moonlight, the city sparkling below them and their future stretching out infinite and bright. And if sometimes Maya thought about that freezing February morning when she'd made a choice that changed everything, when she'd chosen kindness over convenience, compassion over self-preservation, she never regretted it. Not for a second. Because some stories begin with once upon a time. But the best stories, the real stories, begin with a single choice to be brave. To save a stranger in the snow. To carry someone through a storm. To believe that love is worth the risk. And Maya's story, her beautiful, impossible, perfect story with the man who'd been both wolf and king, was proof that sometimes the bravest choices lead to the most extraordinary endings. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed Maya and Rowan's journey from that snowy San Diego beach to their happily ever after. Their story reminds us that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change our entire world, and that love is always worth fighting for, even when it seems impossible. If you've ever craved a love that doesn't ask permission, that claims you body and soul, that turns the cold December air into heat you can taste, this book is going to ruin you for anything less. Grab it now via the link in the description and comment section. Let his wolf choose you tonight. You deserve to feel that wanted, even if it's just for a few stolen hours between these pages. The night his wolf chose me. Instant download, waiting for you. Until next time, remember to be kind, be brave, and believe in love. Even the impossible kind.